blessed to have Bishop Daniel Thomas with us today. He was the main celebrant of our First Profession Mass, and so he's been a great friend for years. So I thought I would interview him and ask his words of wisdom, I think.
Well, Mother, it's a great joy to be with you. It's a treat also to do this podcast with you.
Good.
And of course, I know when you say years of friendship, we don't like to admit how many years there are of that
absolutely.
friendship.
And I don't know about the friendship either, but
I think I didn't have white hair at that time.
Oh my goodness. Well, Bishop, I realize that you've had a long journey before you're a bishop. So could you just, I don't know that much about your childhood or your family, so would you just share what it was like?
Certainly. I had the great gift of growing up in a Catholic family with a mom and dad who, as I always say, I learned what married love was like through my mom and dad, Fran and Anna. And I had one brother, Francis. They are all sadly deceased now.
Oh, okay.
But I grew up in a Catholic neighborhood called Manayunk in Philadelphia. And it was in a Catholic parish, Holy Family Parish in Manayunk. And I had the great blessing of having religious consecrated women, sisters, who were the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary. And, and they had our school, so they served the school, and that was a tremendous gift for 8 years of elementary school, of grade school. Then I had the blessing of going to a Catholic high school, Roman Catholic high school for boys in the city of Philadelphia. Okay. And at the end of high school, then discerned the vocation to at least test the discernment for priesthood. So I entered the seminary.
Right after high school.
Right after high school.
I was going to ask you that. Where did you go?
I went to St. Charles Borromeo Seminary in Philadelphia.
Sure.
And I went to college there for the degree in philosophy and then for 4 years of theology.
That is wonderful. So you were in high school when you felt the call to...
Well, I was in high school when I discerned that I should probably begin to follow the path. Frankly, it was as a 7-year-old in grade school that I first felt that call.
That's amazing.
And when I was growing, whenever I'm giving talks in grade schools, the children always ask, Bishop, when did you feel that call? And I always say that in 6th grade, of course, every child wants to be any number of things. So in 6th grade, I wanted to be a tennis player, an English teacher, a veterinarian, but always wanted to be a priest too, alongside of those.
That's beautiful.
And then it was only in high school when I finally discerned that it was time to, after working with a spiritual director for 2 years, that it was time to test that vocation and go to the seminary.
Oh, that is beautiful. Where were you, after the seminary, where were you assigned to to what parish?
Sure. After my ordination as a deacon, I was assigned for my deacon year at St. Anthony's in Ambler. And then after ordination as a priest, I was assigned to St. Joseph's Parish in Aston. So that was my first priestly assignment, which lasted 2 years because then the Cardinal Archbishop asked me to go to graduate studies in Rome. So I had the great gift of having those 2 years at St. Joseph's in Aston.
Oh, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. So you went to the NAC?
Well, then I went to the North American College Graduate House, the Casa Santa Maria, and I lived there with many other priests from across the United States, and I studied at the Gregorian University dogmatic theology.
Did you take everything in Italian?
We did, yes, we did. I don't know how much I took in, but we took the classes in Italian.
I went to the Angelicum, and I would have taken home ec if they had taught it in English. They taught in Italian. I didn't know any Italian. But anyway, it makes life interesting.
Mother, I remember one day coming to the table, and we were with a group of the 6 priests at breakfast, and a priest sat down to breakfast, and he said, I can't believe it. He said, everybody says, when you dream in Italian, then you have a grasp of the language. And another fellow at the table said, well, I dreamt in Italian last night. And everyone looked. He said, but I didn't understand a word.
This sounds ridiculous, but I actually had Hebrew in Italian and Greek in Italian. I didn't understand the Italian. I didn't understand the Greek or the Hebrew.
Oh, my.
And it was insane. But anyway, God got me through it somehow. God had wonderful teachers that helped me and all of that. And
it would make sense that a Dominican went to the Angelicum.
That's right. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. And now, when did you get the message, or how did you get the message when you were appointed a bishop?
I got the message through the Cardinal Archbishop, who was at that time Cardinal Justin Regali.
Oh, okay.
And of course, I had worked with him in the Congregation for Bishops in Rome, where I worked for 15 years as a priest. And during that time, and that's really where I got to know you and the Dominican Sisters, because I was living and serving as an adjunct spiritual director at the North American College.
Oh, good.
And then when I came back to Philadelphia, I had the great joy of being pastor for only 9 months at Our Lady of the Assumption Parish in Stratford. And then I was called to the Archbishop's office. He called me on the telephone, and I had a finance council meeting that evening, and he said, "Now, can you come for dinner?" I said, "Well, I'm sorry, Your Eminence, I have a meeting tonight." "Oh, well, then can you come for dessert?" I said, "Well, really, I'm sorry, Your Eminence, but I have these folks are waiting for me." And then he said, "Can you come now?" And I thought, it must be important.
Oh, yeah.
So
my goodness.
on the way, and I recall this, on the way, I prayed the joyful mysteries of the Rosary. And after he told me I had been named a bishop, on the ride back, I prayed the sorrowful mysteries of the Rosary.
That must have been an unbelievable shock. It's interesting to hear how different people.
Absolutely. And sitting before the Archbishop, he prayed a prayer, and before I was even seated, he said, "Pope Benedict has named you an auxiliary bishop. Do you accept?" And I said, "Your Eminence, may I say no?" And his response was, "Do you think that's the response Jesus wants to hear?"
Good.
I thought, oh my. Well, confronted with that, I said, conscious of my sinfulness and my unworthiness, then I would have to say yes. And then, Mother, he said, "Well, what is your motto?" I said, "Your Eminence, I have no idea. I just found out I was named a bishop."
Oh, that's beautiful.
But your Cardinal Regali was always one step ahead.
Oh, yeah, he was wonderful. Were your parents alive when you were made a bishop?
No, my mother had already died when I was in my last year of working in Rome. And God rest her, she had died of a massive stroke and lasted about 1 month. And then I came home from Rome, and I'll never forget at her funeral, one of her dear friends said, "Her prayers were finally heard to bring you home, but she wasn't here for you to see you." And then my father was alive when I was ordained a bishop, and he was, even though he was in a wheelchair, he had Parkinson's before his death for 14 years. But he was able to be present. It was such a great joy.
Oh, that's
and the greatest joy, I know that my mother was present because it was on the feast of St. Anne, which was her name. So it was the 26th of July.
That's wonderful. That is wonderful. Now, how long were you the auxiliary there before you were named the Bishop of Toledo?
Yes.
Yeah.
The Lord took care of me for 8 years as the auxiliary bishop. So I had the blessing of serving for 4 years under Cardinal Regali, and then the great blessing of serving for 4 years under Archbishop Charles Chaput.
You had two great mentors.
Quite blessed.
Yeah, great.
And as I said, both of them were tremendous models, both very different in their personality, but both great men of the church, and taught me many, many things, literally, about being a bishop.
Were you shocked with going to Ohio?
I was very shocked.
From Philadelphia to Ohio.
When the nuncio called me, I was on vacation actually, and it was on the 14th of August, and he said to me, "The Holy Father has named you the Bishop of Toledo," and I was just completely silent. And he said,
"Did you think Spain?"
and I said, "Well," I said, "Archbishop," I said, "It's shocking to me." I said, "This is something totally new, and I'd certainly like to pray about it." And he said, "Well, the Holy Father would like this, and do you accept?" I said, "Well, Archbishop, trusting in the mercy of the Lord and in His grace, then I say yes." And he said, "Thank you, Bishop Daniel, for making my life easier."
Oh, that's good. That's good.
But it was fascinating, Mother, because I was named on the 14th, which of course is Maximin Kolbe.
Yes.
I was announced in Toledo on the 24th, which is the feast of Our Lady of Czestochowa. And then I was installed the Bishop of Toledo on the 22nd of October, which was the first feast day of Pope John Paul II. As a saint.
So
someone told me, even though you are not Polish by heritage, you must be spiritually Polish because of all those wonderful anniversaries.
That is beautiful. So what popes have you met? I mean, like,
sure.
Since, as a priest, I can't go back to the years like when you were studying in Rome.
I was going to say, I don't know if I've met as many as you have.
That's true.
No, having worked for 15 years in the Holy See, in the congregations,
that was interesting.
I did meet, of course, Pope John Paul. The entire time I worked in the Holy See, it was with Pope John Paul II. So I had the great gift of celebrating Mass a few times in his private chapel, obviously having been present at a few meetings, and then working on quinquennial visits of bishops also to the Holy See with Pope John Paul. And then I had met, of course, Cardinal Ratzinger prior to that because he was one of the members of the Congregation for Bishops, and then had the joy of being able to meet him personally also as Benedict XVI. And not too long ago, had the grace of taking a pilgrimage from my new diocese, from the Diocese of Toledo. We took families in pilgrimage to Philadelphia when Pope Francis visited and came to Philadelphia for the World Meeting of Families.
Oh, beautiful.
So I had the gift of meeting Pope Francis there for the first time. And then this past December, of course, all the bishops have been on ad limina visit over the past year from the United States. And in December, I went with the bishops of Ohio and Michigan and had the opportunity to greet him then.
Good. In listening to your experiences, even as a bishop and also in your time in Rome, you've had wonderful examples.
Extraordinary.
Of the popes and the bishops.
Yes.
See, God must have really needed to get it through. Get it across.
He's still working, giving me examples like yourself.
No, that's wonderful, though. Really, what a grace that is.
And a tremendous grace, as you know, in our religious lives to have mentors and models for us.
Yes.
And that began early on, even as a child, when I recognized what wonderful priests we had in the parish. My priests in the high school that I attended, priests in the seminary, my spiritual director in the seminary. You may remember Cardinal John Foley. And he was actually my spiritual director from the time I entered the seminary.
My goodness,
so a great gift. I always think I can't live up to the models that have been mentors for me. I wish that I could live up to their...
Wonderful. What all did you do when you were working in Rome? That would be...
In the Congregation for Bishops, the people on the level that I was, a minutante, all the different officials, I would say maybe there were 20 to 25. It was mostly priests from all over the world. And my particular work, there was a number of folks who, of course, cared for we refer to as the English section, but I was responsible principally for the United States.
Okay.
And then we would have had someone else from the United States, and we always had at least one other person who was either from England or Ireland, and they also cared for other English-speaking countries from in the world.
Did you know, this might be a secret, but anyway, I'll ask you. You can just answer the secret. Like, did you know the men that they were nominating to be bishops when you worked there? I mean...
Well, I was tasked specifically working at the desk for the United States. It was my work to receive the reports of the nuncio and review all those reports and to review all the priests who were being presented for the office of bishop.
Oh, beautiful.
So that work helped the Holy Father in his reviewing of the candidates and in his choosing shepherds for the church, particularly the United States. So, Mother, I said, what an extraordinary blessing to read so many dossiers of really true and good and holy men who are being presented for the office of bishop, many of whom would never become bishops, but to have the opportunity to be edified and inspired that even these men who would not have become are still serving in their dioceses as faithful, hardworking, and wonderful priests.
And they will never know that they were nominated.
And they will not because of the pontifical secret, right?
Isn't that something?
And you know, of course, what Cardinal Dolan says, that the pontifical secret is that which everyone knows except the Pope. or that which you tell to one person at a time.
Do you know that Cardinal Dolan, we were classmates at the Angelicum?
I thought I recall him saying that.
Except I was in the licentiate program and he was a seminarian then, but
sure.
But it was wonderful. So we still kind of keep up and communicate.
I thought so. It's great to have such fine mutual friends.
No, it's been wonderful. So, have you liked your new appointment in Toledo?
I've been profoundly blessed. When I first arrived, I tell folks, when I first arrived, I saw the home in which I would live, and I said, Lord, I am not worthy. And I met the priests with whom I would live, and I said, Lord, I am not worthy. And then they took me into the cathedral the night before the announcement. And then I said, now, Lord, I know I'm not worthy, because it's such a blessing. The church in Northwest Ohio is a wonderful local church, and I'm profoundly blessed by faithful, wonderful lay people, consecrated religious deacons and priests.
Yeah. Do you know, if anybody is watching this thinking, if they don't have an opportunity to see the cathedral in Toledo,
I would invite them to come.
It is gorgeous.
Absolutely.
It is absolutely incredible. You just go, I mean, you'd like to go on pilgrimages there.
Absolutely.
Which,
and we're on the list for one of the places in Ohio for folks to visit. And Mother, when I was named a bishop in Ohio, I was permitted to tell my family just before I went to Toledo, traveled to Toledo. And when I told them, my niece took out her phone and she immediately was on her phone. She's a millennial. And she said, Uncle Dan, there are 3 things to see in Toledo. And I said, Emily, what's that? And she said, the Toledo Zoo, the Art Museum, the Toledo Art Museum, and your cathedral.
Isn't that interesting? No, I believe it. It is absolutely spectacular.
And it's Our Lady, Queen of the Most Holy Rosary.
Okay.
So I've told folks from the beginning, please God, I'll be able to have a cathedral fund, and please God, have received donations to for that fund, because I'd love to put the luminous mysteries of the Rosary, because all the other mysteries of the Rosary are depicted in the cathedral, but of course, not the luminous mysteries yet. And having been installed on Pope John Paul's feast day as a saint, and because he gave them to the church, that's one of my great hopes.
That would be wonderful. Well, listen, anything, I mean, it is so beautiful, so I'm sure you will do it in very good taste.
We want to do it so that it picks up the artwork that is already there and complements it.
Oh, gosh. That would be a challenge for any architect to do, because it's
extraordinary.
It is extraordinary.
And I think, as I shared with you, it's modeled on the Cathedral of Toledo, Spain, and it's the only example of Plateresque architecture in the United States. So, of course, we're very jealous, Mother. We think that it's at least in the top 5 cathedrals of the United States.
Oh, I would agree with you. Not that I've seen all the.
That's high praise. No.
No, I mean, I would put it right up there at the top, because it's extraordinary. I mean, it's a place where people just should take pilgrimages.
Absolutely.
So anyway, well, Bishop, our sisters, well, I don't know if they can take this or not. They're going to be in your diocese. Anyway, they're going to begin this fall in St. Michael's.
And we're so blessed in the Diocese of Toledo to, first of all, to say thank you to you, Mother, and to the council that you would say yes to founding a mission in the Diocese of Toledo. We're thrilled and ecstatic that we'll have 4 sisters coming to St. Michael the Archangel Parish in Findlay, all of whom, of course, will be in the school. And we're just grateful to the parish for their tremendous generosity in building a convent for the sisters. And I look forward, please God, together with you, to being there for a blessing of the convent, of the chapel, and consecration of the altar there.
Well, it's a wonderful school, and we met the principal, and so our sisters they're very excited, and we're so grateful that the people have built a convent for us, and it's been extraordinary. I mean, our experience there, I just expect big things, so
as do I.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. So I know.
And we're blessed to welcome the Dominicans. We really are.
Good. Well, God bless you, Bishop. It's
Mother,
so
thank
good
you.
To be with you.
A joy to be with you, and thank you for the opportunity to do this podcast with you.
And thank you for coming for our first profession mass. It was an honor to have you.
Well, a special joy to celebrate with you.
Okay, God bless you. Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Thank you.